Hello everyone, welcome back to Taekook Forever. Have you ever noticed a moment that at first glance seems ordinary? But does it feel like holding something much deeper? Moments that are not noisy, not dramatic, are almost easy to miss, but when viewed closely, leave an impression that is difficult to explain. In one of the episodes of Run BTS, there was such a small detail. Details that may seem simple on the surface, but slowly open up a lot of questions about habits, about convenience, and about two people who always find a way to connect without needing a lot of words, Taehyung and Jungkook. Today, we will discuss that moment. A simple fragment that may not have been just a coincidence. In this episode, the dynamic between Taehyung and Jungkook feels subtle but meaningful. Their interactions aren't always flashy, they're not always the center of attention, but that's where their strength lies. The little things, the way they move, the way they are in the same space, even the way they respond to each other, slowly form an image of a long-standing closeness. Nothing is exaggerated, nothing is made up. Everything feels natural. One of the interesting details is how the comfort looks in the moment of rest. From some of the footage, Taehyung and Jungkook often seem to be in close proximity, as if that closeness has become something familiar to them. It's not something to think about, it's something that just happens. It reminds them of many of their old moments, a brief glance, a small smile, or even a silence that feels meaningful. There is an impression that they don't always need words to understand each other. Jungkook, with his calm nature, seems comfortable around Taehyung. While Taehyung, with his unique and expressive personality, often creates an atmosphere that makes Jungkook look more relaxed. The two seem to complement each other without the need for visible effort. When we see content like, "Are you sure?" which never shows everything in its entirety, the same question arises, how many moments like this actually happen off camera? This is what often leads fans into detective mode, paying attention to small details that might have previously been missed. Not to seek certainty, but to understand the feelings implied behind simple interactions. One of the most interesting moments is the morning atmosphere. Jungkook is seen waking up with a soft expression and a voice that is still sleepy. Meanwhile, Taehyung is often one of the most active to wake up the other members, in a distinctive, energetic, and slightly chaotic way. This contrast actually feels interesting. On one side there was Jungkook's calmness, on the other there was Taehyung's energy. But when the two are in the same frame, the atmosphere feels balanced. Details like these may seem small. But when it's associated with other moments, a silent gaze, a shared laughter, or spontaneous interaction, they all start to form their own narratives. However, it is important to keep the distinction between what we really see and what we feel. Visually, all we see is two people who are comfortable with each other. There is no big statement, no definitive evidence. But what makes it feel different is the implicit emotion. There is tenderness, there is warmth, and there is a connection that does not need to be overstated. Sometimes, what is not said actually feels the most real. Over time, many feel that Taehyung and Jungkook are showing a more relaxed and happy side when together. More laughter, more light interactions, and a freer atmosphere. They seem to be able to be themselves without pressure. Sharing small moments, joking for no reason, or just being around each other, it all feels enough. In the end, maybe we'll never really know what's going on behind all those little details. And maybe it doesn't have to. Because the beauty of Taekook's moment lies not in certainty, but in the feelings that arise when we see it. Convenience, trust, and the sincerity that is felt, even in silence. Because sometimes, the most obvious things are not what is obvious, but what can we feel? And that's where the appeal gets stronger. When not everything is explained, that space gives us the opportunity to really feel, not just see. Taehyung and Jungkook often present moments like this, quiet, simple, but full of meaning. There are times when they don't do anything big. There were no dramatic gestures, no words that stole the show. Just the existence of each other. But strangely, it is precisely such moments that feel the most sincere. For example, in some small interactions, the way Jungkook subconsciously follows Taehyung's direction, or how Taehyung casually approaches without looking awkward. Things like this often happen so quickly, so subtly, that sometimes they are only visible to those who are really paying attention. It's not about how often they look together, but how they look when they're together. There is a rhythm that feels harmonious. It was as if they understood each other's time, when to joke, when to be quiet, and when it was enough just to be close. Another interesting thing is the way they respond to each other in spontaneous situations. Sometimes, when Taehyung says something random or unexpected, Jungkook doesn't always react immediately with words. But his expression, a small smile, a brief glance, was enough to show that he understood. On the other hand, Taehyung also often shows concern in a unique way. Not always through clear actions, but through consistent presence. Like someone who is always around, without the need to announce. Many fans refer to this as their comfort zone, a space where both can be the most honest version of themselves. There is no need to maintain an image, there is no need to try to look certain. Everything feels lighter, more natural. And perhaps, this is the reason why Taekook's moment feels different. Not because of its intensity, but because of its authenticity. When the world around them is full of highlights, hectic schedules, and invisible pressures, finding someone who can make things feel simple is something rare. On some occasions, we can also see how the atmosphere changes when they are in the same team or one of the same situations. There is cooperation that is not always pronounced, but it is clearly visible. It was as if they already knew each other's steps without the need for instructions. This is not to say that they are always perfect. They also joke, tease each other, and sometimes even look opposites. But that's precisely where the balance lies. Differences that do not separate, but complement. And the longer we pay attention, the more it becomes apparent that this kind of relationship is not built in a short period of time. There is a process, there is a long togetherness, there are small moments that slowly form that closeness. In the end, perhaps we don't need to look for a definitive label or definition. Because what is really visible is something simpler, two people who are comfortable with each other, who find serenity in the midst of all the busyness, and who unconsciously create small moments that are meaningful to many. And perhaps, that's more than enough. Because behind all the theories, analysis, and speculation, all that remains is a warm feeling that is difficult to explain, the feeling that arises every time we see them sharing the same space. A reminder that sometimes, the most powerful connections don't need a lot of words, quite felt. Thank you for watching until the end, Taekook Forever fans. If you also think Jungkook and Taehyung truly delivered an amazing performance, don't forget to support this video by liking, commenting, and subscribing. Let us know in the comments which performance moment from the Face era gave you the most goosebumps. See you in the next video.